Welcome to Nugget 331 with Steve and Dana Groman, and we will be looking at the Science News, April 2023. One of the articles that caught our attention is The Fruit Fly Brain in Exquisite Detail.
Ooh.
Those look like a bunch of candies, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
The wiring of one insect's brain no longer contains much uncharted territory. All of the nerve cells and virtually every connection between them have now been mapped in a larval fruit fly brain, researchers report. It's the most complex wiring diagram of a whole brain yet created. Okay, this is in 2023.
This is right now.
And they're just now able to map something as complex as a fruit fly brain?
Seems they would have that done, wouldn't it?
It would seem like it.
They used to use the fruit fly as evidence of evolution.
They did.
They did all kinds of things to them. They came out with short wings, some that couldn't fly, long legs, short legs, but they were still a fruit fly.
So these poor guys are kind of like mice. They've just been experimenting on them?
They big time used to be.
Well, sounds like they're giving them brain scans now. Previously, just 3 organisms, a sea squirt and 2 types of worm, had their brain circuitry fully diagrammed to such a high resolution. But those creatures have at most about 1,500 neurons in their entire body. The scientists who conducted the new study wanted to understand much more complex animals whose brains alone contain thousands of neurons. So they turned to a 6-hour-old fruit fly. We just really turned and looked at each other and went,
Okay.
Okay. Fruit flies share many behaviors with humans.
Not too many. I've never seen one ride a bicycle.
You haven't?
No.
Well, they said what we have in common with the fruit fly is learning and combining information from many senses. Larvae perform nearly all the same actions as adult flies, except for some like flying and mating, but have smaller brains, making the scientists' data collection job much easier.
I would think it would make it harder.
I think so too. They're cracking me up. The idea for this project came 12 years ago. Back then, she and her colleagues began capturing electron microscope images of an entire larval fruit fly brain. Using a computer, the team then stitched those images together and manually traced each neuron to create a 3D rendering of the cells. And I guess that's what they came up with, this pretty candy-looking diagram, image depiction of. That rendering shows every nerve cell in the fruit fly's brain. Spheres represent each cell's body. Tails depict the cell branches that send and receive information. It's a complex little guy, isn't it?
He is.
Even God made complexity in this fruit fly.
Very small package.
A very small package, and evolutionists are learning the great intricacies of even a fruit fly. The researchers also pinpointed the connections or synapses where information gets passed between cells and even determine which end of each synapse sends information and which receives it. In all, the team identified about 3,000 neurons and nearly 550,000 synapses. Groups of neurons transmit information to one another in circuits. Exploring the neuron connectivity patterns not only directed linked partners but also distantly connected ones, like distant relatives on a family tree, revealed 93 different types of neurons. Nearly 75% of the most well-connected neurons were tied to the brain's learning center, indicating the importance of learning. I'm just picturing a bunch of little fruit flies in school, aren't you? With a teacher up front.
I wonder how many grades they have.
You mean like do they go through high school or whatever?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. The researchers hope this work will serve as a blueprint for fellow scientists studying brain circuitry. Now we have a reference map. Well, how many of you thought that they already had a reference map for fruit fly brains?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say. We're having fun with this article, but you have to remember, people that went to school in the past, no matter when, they learn things as though they're facts, and then later we find out that they're just now discovering more. They're just now discovering something new. They're just now discovering something that oftentimes undoes what they did before.
Well, a lot of times things are just presumed and assumed and taught as real, and then they eventually come up with something when the technology improves and they can see deeper and better. And I think this is an example of that.
When you're reading or hearing or learning anything to do with basically any of the sciences, you need to investigate. Understand that it is oftentimes what somebody or some group of somebody tend to believe.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you.